So, Corinne, can you share the first poll question? We just want to get a sense of who's here, kind of where you're from, and a couple other questions. First one is, what part of the island are you coming or zooming in from? And the second, we just want to see if you attended any of these in person and online. We have that. We're asking these questions next week too. And then just how familiar or how involved you've been. That's been a decent process of just checking. Good. We're getting half of everyone responding so far. Getting some fun chats. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Stephanie. There we go. Claire wanted you to know she's on. Very good. We have 27 responses out of 44. Initially, I see a lot of first-time folks, so yeah, thanks for taking the time. A few from 2015, thanks for sticking it out. Well, it's a cool mix, so we have a good spread from all across the island. It's Reese, well, repping Kailua Kona in Alberta. Good, we have 34 people. Got it, sorry, Albert. I think mixed you and Cerise together. Give it till 5:05, and then we'll end the poll and get started. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, we have a few more people that trickled in. So if you're just coming in, we are starting using a poll just to see where folks are coming from, if you've attended any of the recent workshops, and then your level of involvement. Good question, Claire. That one I wouldn't know. I don't know if there were virtual workshops in 2015.
In 2016, we did some kind of hybrid meetings, but really this process got initiated in 2015.
Thanks, Stephanie. Wow, we're up to 50 attendees. 40 people have responded. It's pretty good. Got it. Thanks, Albert. Wow, that's new to me, Claire. So as folks who are using the chat, as we get started, there's also a Q&A function. I see Heather is using it. Thanks, Heather. Long time no see. So we're gonna have folks to, when this gets going, put their questions tied to the general, the GP into the Q&A. And then the direct chat will be used mainly for tech issues. So just as a heads up. It's just, as someone mentioned, as Heather mentioned, once the questions are answered, everybody will be able to see it with that function. So that's sort of why we're doing it that way. So we're at 5:05. Just want to be mindful of folks' time. I'm going to close the poll. It's pretty good. We had 46 responses out of 52. Boom skis. There we go. So can you folks see the results? Okay, so good. As mentioned, there's a pretty good mix of folks from across the island. So again, everyone, for making the time, and a good chunk of folks who this is your first time. Excuse me, first workshop. And then a good chunk saying this is your first time tied to the GP, and also a mix of folks who have participated in other meetings or from 2015. So, yep, thanks everyone. Yeah, Claire, I think we're recording so that this can be shared. Oh, thanks, Steph. Been quite involved. So I'll stop sharing the poll, and I think Bethany, you'll jump in here.
Yeah, before we get started, just wanted to allow for Zendo to open the meeting with any thoughts that he wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Bethany. I just want to say, really appreciate everybody taking the time to really come out for a really important subject matter. And it really means a lot that we are taking the time to do this. We live in an island with a very unique perspective in a lot of different ways with a lot of unique communities. And I think this is a really opportunity for us to come together and really focus on what we want for our communities, what we want for our island, versus really focusing on what we don't want. It's often easy for us to focus on what we don't want versus what we actually do want. And so a lot of the framing that you'll see, a lot of the approach that we took is really, what do we want? How do we want to move forward collectively at a high level? And I believe as we chunk up on a higher level, there should be a lot of areas that we absolutely can agree on. And that's really the purpose of the general plan, is to get that broad consensus direction of the island, our North Star. One of the big areas for me that's really, really important is being able to have our children be able to stay on the island or come back to the island if they want to, and very much in alignment with the mayor's vision of being able to have their keiki, raise their keiki, to raise their keiki here. And this general plan is an important element to move that concept forward. And I believe if we're taking care of that, we're ultimately taking care of a lot of other things. This has been a long effort in the works. As most of you know, there was a draft that came out in 2019. We've looked at that draft. We've worked with a tremendous amount of feedback and responses that we've got from that time, and really came up with what I think is a very sound draft that's really broken down into very good components of certain subjects, as you'll see, that really should create a two-way street. So it holds government accountable and also sets the vision on where we're going with our community and holds community accountable. And that's really the concept that we've tried. Oftentimes government can be a one-way street. And our team and our focus has been, how do we get it to be a two-way street and bind us together as a community and as a government to really get the things done that we need to get done. So this draft is out right now. We're very proud of it. Our team's done a great job. We really want to hear the feedback. This is what we want. We're out here to get the feedback. So please give us the feedback. Let us know your thoughts. And so we can continue to perfect this draft that will ultimately then make its way through planning commissions to the county council. This isn't the end of the road. This is just the next step in it. We're much closer than we ever have been. And Bethany will go over more details kind of on the entire process. But again, just really wanted to set that intention of, let's focus on what we do want. Let's focus on an island that we can really be proud of, and a community that we love, and a place that our children can come home and stay home if they'd like to. Again, really appreciate everybody taking the time to come out and be a part of this process. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Bethany. Aloha.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Zendo. Bear with me while I share screen and hopefully get this where we want it. So you folks should be seeing the presentation, right? Right, good to go. Okay, awesome. Let's quickly, did our poll already. This is just information regarding our workshops. We have tonight's workshop, and then we have October 18th from 5 to 7. That will be the same information and same format, but for those that couldn't attend tonight, can attend that one. And before we get started, I just want to be clear about our objectives for this meeting. We want to provide an overview of the draft general plan, review the comprehensive review process, provide an overview of engagement and commenting options, and then provide an opportunity for folks to ask questions about specific GP topics. And for our agenda, as you might imagine, we'll talk about the purpose of the general plan. We'll talk about the process. We'll talk about the framework for this new draft. Then we'll actually dive in and do some orientation of the draft and the mapping component. And then we'll finish up with next steps.
Yep, I can jump in here just for the logistics. So as folks, I know many folks are new, so the county has been using the Konveio platform, and county team members will be dropping links into the chat. But that's how the county has been collecting feedback. It's a pretty iterative, engaging platform. So feel free to click around as folks are sharing. But the flow for the time together will be a general introduction, and then at least for about 15 minutes for each of the 6 topic areas. And as mentioned, please use the Q&A function to enter GP-related questions. Again, there's other county folks on the call who are helping to monitor, and we'll try to synthesize the questions to get clear responses. So that's the reason for that. The chat, as you folks can see, it can get, or on our end, it gets pretty dynamic. So we don't want to miss anything. And then there's also an online feedback form for questions that maybe are not GP related, but you have to a certain county department. But please be sure to share your contact info so they can get back to you. Yep, thanks, Janice. And feedback form. And as Claire asked, so this, as you can see, this is being recorded, will be shared on the department's different platforms. The staff will follow up with everything that's dropped in the chat, as well as other resources. And again, we do want to emphasize that going forward, the chat is for if you're having issues with your Zoom, like sound or whatnot. Again, keep all the Q&A stuff towards the Q&A function. And that, given the timing, yeah, we may not have time to answer all the questions. So, but what's cool is the planning team has committed to following up. Again, use that form. If it's GP related, it will be considered in the overall process once the draft is updated. But that's sort of the flow, at least the logistics and protocols for today.
Thank you, Brent. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first, just want to talk about the purpose of the general plan for those that might not be familiar, or those that could use a little refresher. The general plan is set forth from our county charter, and it's really to establish the long-range policy for the comprehensive physical, economic, environmental, and social cultural well-being of the county. But in plain speak, it's really a sustainability strategy. It presents the future, the vision for that future, and addresses many layers of what makes healthy, livable, sustainable communities. And it's also a planning tool. It really provides the information to guide decisions to help us achieve that vision. It's also important to understand what the general plan is not. The general plan is not a specific plan for growth or development. It's not a master plan or a regional plan, and it's not meant to be a fixed, inflexible document. And so this diagram just kind of shows you the layers of different plans and where the general plan really fits, really on top as being that broad geographic, long-term sort of overarching framework. And then you get more specific plans and implementation as you go down this graphic to finally sort of the implementation on the ground of permits that are issued and projects that are built. As far as the scope of the general plan, it really does encompass everything that is important to our communities, from health and safety issues, recreation and open space, how we move about, transportation, our sewer and water systems, our natural resource protection, different housing options, and of course, our land use strategy to really help us achieve our vision of being sustainable and balancing all of the needs economically and environmentally. Another way to understand the authority of the GP is to really understand its relationship with our other plans and processes in the county. So this graphic here demonstrates sort of that it's the umbrella of the planning system. And underneath it, you'll see our community development plans. You'll see functional plans such as our water use and development plan. All those then flowing to our regulatory measures, which would be through our county code, like our zoning code and subdivision. And then finally, that's the boots on the ground implementation of our permits and capital improvement projects and operating budget. So really, again, it is guiding all of the decisions that lead to those outcomes. A little bit about the process for this review. But before we look at that process, I just wanted to highlight some interesting facts about our land use system here in Hawaii. It is fairly young. This is only the third comprehensive update to our general plan. And it's also important to note that most of the large subdivisions on this island were subdivided prior to statehood. So we have a lot of existing conditions that we're working with, but this is really an opportunity to bring this plan into the next century. As far as the process, we initiated this comprehensive review in 2015 and gathered initial input from members of the public, our community development plan action committees, and also the county council. In 2016, we began phase 2 with conducting research and analysis, which included some scenario planning using a geographic information systems or GIS-based software. And we also held some public meetings where folks might have participated that are on this call today. And through that, we began developing and refining goals and strategies. We held listening sessions with every county agency as well, and we continued to engage with our community development plan action committees. In 2019, we began phase 3 with a public review of the initial draft. As Zendo mentioned, we got a lot of feedback through that draft process. Almost 4,000 comments were logged in. And so since that time, we began phase 4 to really compile and organize those public comments. We conducted additional research and analysis to address those, and we created a revised draft that you will see out currently. So we are in phase 5, which is the public review of the recommended draft plan. And following this process, or this phase, we'll begin the adoption process, which will include further opportunities for public testimony and refinement of the plan. Now let's look at the draft framework that we use to organize this draft. As you can see, we have a heavy emphasis on sustainable development. And this is really grounded in the community development plans and some of the visions that they had already presented. And so this vision statement represents sort of a combination and a synthesis of those community development plan visions into one island-wide vision. And that is that Hawaii Island is an exemplary leader with healthy and resilient communities that are built by sustainable development, a thriving and diversified local economy, and collaborative environmental stewardship. Following along our sustainability journey, just a update on sort of where we got most of this information and guidance. We look to the American Planning Association, and they provide a lot of best practices as far as how comprehensive plans should be structured, how the engagement should look, and the contents of those plans. So we've really looked to them as a professional resource for this document. This is the first comprehensive review of the general plan to integrate values, principles, and practices of sustainability, consistent with our traditional systems of knowing and ecological stewardship. It focuses on the balance of creating a livable built environment, harmony with nature, a resilient economy, interwoven equity, healthy communities, and responsible regional planning through our community development plan process. The general plan vision, goals, and objectives provide a high-level integrated direction for the community and a holistic perspective. Then the plan uses policies and actions to really implement those goals and objectives. Before we dive into the draft, I just want to give a little bit of an orientation as to how we organize the draft and how we are describing our land use maps. The draft is organized into 6 chapters and 22 sections within those chapters. And so in this graphic, obviously on the left, you'll see the chapters, and the right are the sections. And so it's just important to sort of note where things are landing in these sections. And you'll see that sustainable development and resilient communities really has the land use, the infrastructure, and the housing elements all operating together within that one chapter. And this has been a really important process for us to really think about these things and how they're connected versus just talking about each section separately. And for the future land use map that we're going to explore tonight, just wanted to provide sort of the purpose and authority of that future land use map. You'll see the land uses designated as, graphic expressions of our policies in the plan. They are subject to existing zoning and state land use districts. This is meant to be forward-looking and really looking at that vision of where we want to be in the next 25 to 50 years. It does not go back and change anybody's subdivisions or their zoning entitlements. It's really, again, meant to be a forward-looking effort. And then it is meant to be broad and flexible. So, you'll see on the map that it's, in some cases, it looks like it's parcel specific, but that's because that's a nice element that we can use to show, people recognize parcels. And so we've used that, but it is meant to be broad and flexible and not necessarily parcel specific. And before we dive in, just want to introduce our interactive platform. This platform allows you to easily navigate the document, provide comments, and see other comments as well. It also allows you to explore information like definitions and the general plan maps right within the document without having to navigate various places. This QR code should take you into that document, but I think Janice has also dropped the chat for everybody. We will be walking through 6 stations tonight. These stations have been organized and grouped content together because rather than go through one section at a time, we don't have time for that. So we've tried to logically organize them. And these stations were also represented at the public informational workshops that we held. So you'll see climate change and environment together. You'll see a land use station. You'll see infrastructure, health and safety, economy and housing, and finally implementation. And let me exit out of this.
Oh, Bethany, as you do that, there are questions in the Q&A. I know April's answering knuckles right now via chat. Stephanie had one tied to implementation, and she asked, does the county have a plan in place to overlay projects that align with one another? There's more detail, but that's the question.
Yeah, that's a great question, and let's explore that a little bit more when we get into the chapter. One of the pushes with this document has been to really hold the county accountable to creating and achieving the vision. And so it looks at, how can the county organize itself in a better way? And one of those ways is about collaborating across multiple departments when we have projects that influence one another. So for example, if there's a roads project, the plan calls for collaboration with any of the utilities in that road, water, sewer, to be sure that we're putting together a project that encompasses all of those things rather than it just being one department project at a time.
Yep, thanks, Bethany. And then Claire also has a question from the concerns. It's in the Q&A. Permits for buildings are in place, but in SMA areas and specific preservation historical districts like Kahului, they're being sold, and it's becoming an area of outside LTC. Folks outside are somehow able to get the permits without getting permits, so there's sort of concerns about that. Address that now, or?
Yeah, that's not specific necessarily to the general plan, Claire, because again, this is higher level and doesn't get into sort of how permits are issued. But it is important to keep in mind, yeah, there is existing zoning in place that those permits are based on. And so really this plan is, how can we make sure that we're preserving our special spaces? And what are the actions that we can do to do that while maintaining and understanding people's property rights?
Got it. Thanks, Bethany. And Claire, we see your follow-up comment until it's decided. How do we hold those empowered? Those laws that are in place be accountable. So I definitely will note that. Thanks, Janice, for dropping in the Konveio. Again, all of these can also be captured in Konveio. Now, higher level is probably one for the general plan to consider. And then another Claire asks, has anyone consulted with the Hawaiian people in consulting the best sustainability opportunities for Hawaii? The original Ahupua'a eco-sustainable system should be part of planning communities, sustainability with infrastructures. There's more detail in the Q&A, but I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, Claire, I think that's a really important part. We do our best as far as outreach and engaging with folks. But I think there's always opportunity for people to weigh in. Now is the time. And so if you know of people that are particularly interested, I would encourage them to get involved so that we can make this plan really reflective of our island's needs and resources.
Yep. Thanks, Bethany. And Chris is asking, he's wondering if 8 to 9 years is a normal time frame for doing one of these updates.
Yes, this is our third update, and our last one, the current plan, is the 2005 general plan, and that process was initiated in 1998. So you can see that it does take a while to get through these comprehensive reviews. And then I would say too that obviously COVID impacted everything that we do. But it also presented us some nice opportunities to learn from those, sort of lessons learned in this next draft. So kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time for that purpose.
Got it.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the document. We can keep working through these Q&As, but I think let's get into that because that'll provide people a lot more information to think about too. So let's see. Okay, Brent, you can see the Konveio screen? Perfect. Okay, so yeah, I want to provide a little bit of context around this, but then I don't want to spend too much time orienting folks. I would just encourage everybody to visit and click on every button, click on every link, click on every video, basically just really explore because there's a lot of really rich information here and you can't break it. We've been trying to break it as we've been testing out the platform and it's pretty solid. So I just encourage everybody to feel free. You're not going to do anything wrong by clicking all the different places and learning and exploring. So with that, this about page provides just some general information, which I've been sharing with you folks tonight. It provides that same update process. It provides those opportunities for participation. So you'll see we're now in the online workshop phases. There's tonight, and then there's another one on October 18th. And we're also doing roadshow presentations and informational booths where community members can invite us in to present to their groups. And there's sign up buttons here. And then there's some frequently asked questions that a lot of people have been submitting. And so we just wanted to provide some answers to those. So you just click on them and they get expanded to answer those. So that's the about page. The draft review will take you right into the document and you can start reviewing and providing comments. The general plan maps will take you right into the mapping program in a separate browser window if you want to explore that in a large space. And the online workshop is where we're going to spend tonight a little bit exploring together with those stations. And then finally, there's a contact us if you just have questions or if you're having difficulties. So we'll go into this online workshop. This recording will be posted here after it's finished processing. So again, anybody can access this information and have the information ready for them. So we're going to start by exploring station 1, which is that climate change and environment station. And so you'll see here that we have our climate change goal. We have climate change objectives. And if we click this button here, it'll take us into the document to explore that chapter. Once we get into this chapter, again, just a little bit of orientation. You'll see that the draft comment period is until November 2023. You'll see another button where you can explore and comment on maps. And then you'll see some gray tools in this toolbar. This one expands it to full screen, which is nice for viewing. This one opens up a table of contents. These are just navigation, page navigations. This button here will download the document as a PDF. So encourage folks if they want to go that route, feel free to download that here. This stops our glossary from loading. You'll see as we're navigating that if you hover over a dotted line, you'll get the glossary definition for that term. But you can turn off that feature if it's difficult, for processing. There is a search bar here where you can type in keywords and it will, just like any search function, it'll take you through the document where that word is found. And then the default here is on comment. You can also just click and drag if you want to scroll the document that way. But as you see here, you can click anywhere in this document and add a bubble to create your own comments. And so you see that this plus bubble is already on, and I can click here and begin entering in my comments. You will have to provide your name and email information. That information is kept in the background in case we need to reach out and respond back to you for anything. You also have to agree to the terms and conditions. We want to make sure that the space is safe online for folks to participate. A couple other buttons on this screen, you'll see another opportunity for the general plan maps. This one will open in a smaller pop-up window rather than the large separate browser window. And then if you hover over this one, you can open up and see those same climate change goals and objectives. And on the far right of the screen, you'll see these bubbles. Those will actually open up everyone's comments. And so if you're curious what other people are saying, this is the opportunity to review those comments. And you can go in and you can reply to those in an appropriate manner. You can like that, you can dislike it. It's just a nice way to have that interactive commenting and really see what our community thinks about this plan. So, sorry, let me get back to the climate change section. You'll see that our chapters are all organized this way, where you'll have some introductory language before you get into the goals, objectives, policies, and actions. So again, any place you see a dotted line, you can hover and get that definition there. And you'll start to see these yellow buttons. And if you click that, that means someone has provided a comment there. And so you can see all the comments and where they're at. So we have an introduction section. And it goes into, you know, this climate change. So it talks about mitigation and adaptation. You'll see in each of the chapters that we have tables for challenges and opportunities. Getting a lot of feedback on those, which is great. Sorry. And then we get into sort of the goal, objective, policy, and action flow of this section. It is organized by objective. So as you scroll down, all of these policies and actions fall under this main objective here. And that is the climate change section. Now I'm going to get us back out of here. Jump into the collaborative environmental stewardship. So same, you'll keep seeing these same navigation options here. And again, once you get into this chapter, then you'll start seeing the same format as far as introduction, followed by the challenges and opportunities. And these in this particular chapter are separated into the different objectives that we have. So you'll see native habitat, watersheds, stewardship, cultural assets, and scenic character all within this chapter. And so again, similar, we have our environmental goal, and then we get into different objectives. So this one is sort of the native habitats objective. So all of these policies and actions underneath this, which you can see there are quite a few, those all relate to that native habitat. There is less comments at this point on this section, so I would encourage folks, if you have an interest or a passion, to review this and provide any feedback that you have. And you'll see the same buttons at on every page that you can interact with here as well. Any questions on that first station, Brent?
I don't think tied to climate change and environment. Maybe there's a question from Jackie related to housing. I'm not going to tied to the South Hilo CDP, and then implementation questions from Linnell. So, and then from Janice, when analysis of the origins of GP be ready. So not tied to these stations, but want to wait to the applicable stations.
Those feel like more general questions. Let's see. What was that first one you mentioned? Something about housing. That one we'll get there maybe.
Oh, okay, so wait on that one. So I think Nako is more general. She was asking about the missing South Hilo CDP, hoping for a carved out chapter in the GP, and if the timeline can be adjusted to include this potential chapter.
Thank you for that feedback, Nicole. I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that with our director and see, what he wants to do with the timeline.
And then others, when will you have an analysis of the origins of GP contents ready for public view?
Yeah, thank you, Janice. So this recommended draft that we're going through is a combination of many different places. As Zendo mentioned, we took the 2019 draft and really began to understand the feedback and do additional research and analysis. And so there are elements of multiple, sources in this draft, everything from community development plans to the 2005 general plan. Sorry, there's somebody coming off. And also still coming from the 2019 draft as well, where we made some revisions. And so we're working on ways that we can share that information out that makes sense to people. And if you can just follow us on our mailing list, we'll make sure that if there's any information that comes out, we can get that to people.
Yep, thanks, Bethany. I think the housing GP completion, maybe more implementation, so we can answer those then, or. Then another from Janice just asking about the public comment period. She's asking for it to be extended after the holidays. More time is needed to get folks aware and on board. It'll allow the public and planners more time and better.
Yeah, thanks, Janice. And again, we'll be working with our planning director on if we need to adjust that public comment period.
Claire's asking if you could give an example, I think, of how you use Konveio. So maybe if there's a way in an upcoming section you could show that.
Happy to do that, yeah. And so with that, I think I'll jump back in so that we can keep moving and make everybody's time useful tonight. I think the next section I'm jumping into is going to be land use. So this is station 2 for anybody that was at our in-person information workshops. So again, we start off with our land use goal. We have several land use objectives in here. And then you'll see this button that can take us right into the draft. And feel free to, I don't know if people are, tech savvy, but people can follow along if they want to. This is all live and available to everybody. So if you want to do that, great. If you can't quite do that, that's fine too. You can watch this later and get the orientation. So land use is sort of our first section in the Sustainable Development and Resilient Communities chapter. And as I mentioned, that chapter is very large. It contains all of our our land use and infrastructure and housing components. Then you'll see on the right-hand side here, it's organized a little bit for us in the land use section. So we go over urban, rural, and agriculture land uses kind of separately so that you can see those working. And again, you'll see that we are getting some feedback on our draft, which is great. Let's just do a test walkthrough of how to make a comment. So you'd put your name, well, you put the cursor wherever you have a comment. So you'll see that it can be specifically on a word maybe, or a policy or whatever you're interested in commenting on. So you put your name, put your email address. And you guys are all going to have my email address after this, which is fine. Your district. So we are collecting information on sort of where people live so that we can understand where we need to do more outreach. So if we're getting not a lot of feedback from a particular district, we can do more outreach. And then, we can just type in whatever your comment is. How is this defined? And then you see comment type here. Sorry for the noise in the office. So you can use content suggestions, grammar typo, or question. So this one is a question. So I tag it as question. And then you have to agree to the terms and conditions and post your comment. And now there it is for everybody to see and interact with. So it's pretty straightforward. If you are interested in, let's say you made your comment, but you actually want to go in and edit it, the only way to have that kind of permission is to register and create an account through Konveio. It's a very simple process if you are interested in doing that, and some community members have already been doing that, but it's sort of up to you. You don't have to do that in order to comment. So then while we're in land use, I want to start showing you folks the mapping component. So again, there's several ways to access the maps. You can do it from the top bar here where it says general plan maps. You can do it from explore and comment on maps. You can do it from this blue button here. And also within the document, you will see, in fact, let me just navigate to that real quick. You will see our actual land use maps in here. Let's see if I'm in the right place, yeah. And so when you're in the maps that are within the document, there's another button that you can click to comment. So multiple ways of getting to those maps just to provide users with that different experience. My favorite way is to click on this one. It opens in a new browser window. Do you see that browser window, Brent? Okay, wasn't sure which one I was sharing. And if you open it the other way, it'll open in a pop-up window, which is a little bit small to navigate. So I like using a new browser window. And when you open it, you'll see about the map. And there's a whole bunch of introduction information, including a YouTube tutorial for how to use this mapping platform. And then you'll see descriptions on each one of these blue links to the left here. We close out of that, we can begin exploring. I'm gonna zoom in. As I zoom in, you'll start to see that there are some comments that are already being generated in here. So zoom in on our office. When you zoom in, you'll see these are parcels that show up, and then there are also roads. And then you can click on this and get more information. So this is telling us it is high density urban. is the general plan land use label that's been provided here as proposed. Was it revised from LUPAG? Yes or no? No, it was not. The LUPAG label was also high density urban. So there's no change proposed for this parcel. If you click on other ones, you might see a yes, and you'll understand what the LUPAG label is there. From here, there is several features you can use. If you want to understand more about what is high density urban, you can click on this Konveio document link, and you'll see that it says high density urban. Click to learn more. This will then take you back into the document, and it will show you the definition for high density urban. So now it pops up with, if I own property with land use high density urban, how will this property be affected? And you can read the summary here where that is. Within this answer, you can click on the page, and it'll provide the text of that page, and you can also jump to that page to understand the description for high density urban. So a lot of interactive opportunities here, but let's just go back to back into the maps. This time I'm going to take you through the pop-up window just so that you can see what that looks like. Again, it's the same view, it's just a smaller one. You can hit this expand full screen here if you want to, and get it to a full screen. You also can see just the typical mapping navigations of zooming in, zooming out, the home button. There's a search button where you can type in your address and zoom right to your property. You can turn on different base map layers if you want to understand more, specific information, and you can measure. So I'm going to zoom in again here. So you've seen the Konveio document link. This is where you would share your thoughts. So if I zoom back into that space and I want to share my thoughts, it's going to tell you to select something from the map. So I'm going to click on that property again. And now you see that there's a latitude and longitude that pops up here, and you can click that and it will take you into a survey 123 app where you can provide your comment. Right, you can still see this? Okay, perfect. In here, you can see where your pin was dropped. You can move it around if that's not the right location. And then you can share your thoughts. What do you want to say about this location? You can see that that's required. That's a star there, so that's required information. You can provide supporting materials if you want to drop a screenshot or a plan view to provide, sort of what you're speaking about there. You can attach those as well. And your name is also required information. Email address is great if you want some kind of follow-up or ability to follow up with us. And then you would submit your comments. This information, and I'll show you in a second, not everything is available for the public to view. So I'll show you what the public view looks like in there. To close that, as I mentioned, there's already some comments, and so we can just go click on one of them and see what they say to show you what the context is. Sometimes when you're clicking, you'll see that multiple things can be selected, and so you'll see a 1 of 2 here. If you just click over it, you'll see that public comment. And so really, the information that's provided to the public is just the text that was entered in, not the name or the email address or any attachments. So those are that. This next one opens up mapping pages. And so you'll see there's a tutorial page which takes you to that same YouTube video. there's the land use one, and then we have a roads one as well, which I can explore a little bit more when we get into the transportation section. Let me get back to the land use one. And then you'll see data layers here. You can turn off public comments if you don't want to see those. You can turn on centers, which are spoken about in the draft, and you can understand more about those. You can turn on our urban growth boundary, which really represents the places where we expect urban growth to occur and where we're focusing that energy and infrastructure. You'll see the roadways here. You can also turn on the current LUPAG if you want to understand some of the changes. So that's useful for folks who have requested this information. This was added today, so we can continue to make adjustments and refinements as we get feedback, which is really awesome opportunity for us. The legend. So this will show you sort of all the features that have been turned on. So you can see how the centers are described. You can see that the roads and parcel layers are on, and you can understand the general plan land use, sort of what do the colors mean. Another feature we just added today is the swipe feature. And this one requires you to have on the general plan land use layer and also the adopted LUPAG. And once you have those on, you can actually see if we can. Oh, you got to turn it on. That's right. Turn the feature on. Then you can scroll back and forth and see again if there's any significant changes. So you'll see some yellow change, for example, coming up on the bottom of the screen there. So again, just a nice feature to help understand what have been the changes, what's the changes that are being proposed. And then finally, there's an about the map that you can open up again if you have questions about what you're seeing, and a disclaimer, of course. Let's see, any information otherwise about land use. Let me show you these functions down here. We have our executive summary that you can turn on at any time and see sort of what the executive summary is for the document. And you can jump to pages. You can just navigate through this. We have a search function. Let me just clear that. This is powered by AI, and you can ask questions in the document and it will provide you summary responses and also page number references. So you can type a question like, where are we focusing residential growth? And you've got to spell it right. And it will generate the response, and then again, sort of the page number references. So it says we're focusing residential growth within existing urban centers. And then you can click on the page numbers to again read the text, or else jump to the page to really explore what's being talked about within that urban centers. So this is a great way of navigating the document if you don't want to sort of scroll forever. You can just ask very specific questions and it will navigate right to those answers for you. And then finally, the default is on this full document here. So I think that's the land use walkthrough I wanted to provide. Should we pause? Are there questions coming in, Brent?
So one related to land use from Janice is the Kona urban boundary is inordinately huge and arbitrarily drawn. Can we change that in the GP process?
We're open to any feedback, of course. The Kona urban boundary was based on the Kona CDP. So that's what we used as the reference for that information. I'm happy to explore that on the map real quick. So that urban boundary you'll see is that blue line. I can turn it off and on so that people can see it kind of popping there. So that blue line kind of goes through this direction. And again, that was based on the Kona CDP.
Got it. Thanks, Stephanie. And the ones that we haven't answered yet, we'll get to, because there's a housing section and there's an infrastructure section for the water and housing kind of question. For the implementation question is the implementation section, so we'll definitely get to those.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on going. So now we're to our infrastructure station. So this one covers a lot of information. You'll see transportation is involved here, and then all of our public utilities. So everything from electricity, water, wastewater, green infrastructure, that's all captured in this public utility section. So real quick into transportation, and we can explore the roads maps that's available. You'll see again on that organization that we have sort of the introduction to transportation. We go into public access, mass transit, roadways, airports, and harbors as far as the organization. And then again, I'm going to click on this button here this time. We can explore the roads map. Let's go up to Waimea. So same kind of navigation as the other one. So you can see what the legend means. So the red dotted line is new roadway, blue dotted line is extension, green would be improvement, and orange would be widen. And these, you'll see as we explore them, come from a variety of sources. You can also turn on, again, different base maps. I like to look at the streets layer when I'm looking at this, just to see and understand connectivity. And then also, again, you have access to multiple data layers in here. As far as the road recommendations, public comments, and then the major roads that are available there. So let's just zoom in here because this is an interesting one. If we click on this line, you'll see again some information pop up. This is a extension, is the project type of Paniolo Road. It would be a collector in the district of South Kohala. And this is coming from the general plan, the 2005, the current general plan. So we're recommending that that road alignment be maintained in this plan as well. We click on another one. You'll see this one as a Waimea bypass west. Looks like there's a typo, west alignment, number 1. This would be a new road in South Kohala again, and this is coming from the Waimea Regional Safety Study of 2020. So again, just good information in here, and the same thing, you can click on comments and see what other folks are saying as well. And you can certainly provide your own comments if you wanted to by clicking a road project. Let's say I wanted to click on this one. Go back into that share feature. And again, you can type in you can move your pin around and you can type in your comments and hit submit. And then to go back into the map, same thing, we can click learn more about general plan roads. And we can go in here and explore sort of what does it mean when we talk about collectors and arterials. What do we expect as far as examples, how those are characterized, and then what's the sort of right-of-way width for those. So as you're exploring the document, and again, there's a point here, and so you can open up and read, you know, someone else's comment and see if that sparks any interest for you, if you have things to share about that. A lot of information has gone into providing context for this plan, and so there's a lot of introductory narrative. Again, there are tables for people to explore and understand. And then, of course, just getting right into the meat and the potatoes of objectives and policies and actions. So, you know, again, trying to provide everybody with a good understanding of sort of what's included. If you look to the public utility section, you'll see again that it is pretty extensive, and then it covers electricity, broadband and telecom, drinking water, wastewater, stormwater. So there's a lot of good information in this public utility section, which is also in that station that we were working through. So again, you'll see those challenges and opportunities that you can read through and understand and provide some feedback on. But then getting into sort of the goals and objectives of our public utilities there. Any questions we want to cover, Ben?
Well, the water one is also tied to development of housing, so straight to the housing section. You want me to just?
Yeah, I can try and answer it now, or we're gonna explore housing as well. Kind of up to what do you think?
I can just summarize, and then you can see where it fits. On the west side, water rates and water availability seems to be on lockdown. Water department stating it's too expensive to develop more water availability. Only let Nike, luxury estates, oceanfront develop large buildings on small lots. Let the community tap water from the ocean. Konveio private water bottle company was allowed to tap ocean springs. I hasn't the Department of Water and the county considered piping water from the springs. I pump fresh water out from the shoreline.
All right, that's a lot. That's a lot. I would encourage again the users to sort of use the search bar in here to type in things, and so let me see if I can just type in a piece of that and see what is in the document about this. Let's just see, how is water availability addressed? And sometimes it, you know, it takes a little bit. You just got to be patient while it generates. And so you'll see here that there's a big summary about water availability. Obviously, it's a really critical component for us and our natural resource. So it talks about it as a public trust. It then talks about it being crucial for any type of development based on the sustainable yields of groundwater established through the state water code. The general plan requires understanding of water availability and future demands. So again, really good information in here, and I would encourage folks to sort of type in, you know, again, test this out, see if it's if it provides you with some of your questions that you have. And then again, you can click to the pages to navigate and jump to the page and see where that's addressed. So I know that might not answer it specifically, but I think water availability, that's a huge one. And something that we've really been thinking about in this effort. Another thing we talk about in here is One Water. And so just really working with the county's Department of Water Supply and also environmental management and Public Works, frankly. All three of those agencies really collaborating on understanding water as a resource, no matter where it's coming from, and how we can reuse it, make the best use of it without always using our potable water supply. So those are some water takeaways in general.
There's a question about the Waimea Trail, aka Keala Kahawai o Waimea, was approved by 75.5% in July by PONG, included in the 14-mile proposed trail along the stream, which is floodplain. Was it included?
The Waimea Trail. So in our roads map right now, we only have sort of vehicular road information, but you'll see in our other mapping. Let me see. Just open another one. You'll see that folks have already provided some comment on the Waimea Trail. Let's see, was it this one? Yes, so maybe this, this doesn't answer your question, but it lets you know that other folks are also sort of looking at this this trail and that stream as an important feature. So that's again feedback that will need to be considered as we work through any revisions.
Yep, thanks, Stephanie.
There is also, again, I just love this feature. So you can, again, type in your comment. Let's see if Waimea Trails is included in here.
So yeah, not Terry, but Stephanie.
Okay, so no information about Waimea Trail, but then obviously other trail information is going to come up. So there might be opportunity for exploring other, trails that we want to talk about designating. We mentioned this active living corridor, and that has been a really good way of understanding sort of those historic trails, but also modern trails that have developed as well. And, how are those things connected to special places, or also places of, work and school and commercial activity.
Thanks, Stephanie. And then land use question, I think, from Deborah. Are the properties approved by PONG included in the general plan?
We did look at those properties when we were looking at the mapping. And so I would just encourage you again to sort of explore that mapping and see if there are properties designated differently that I can't find a particular PONG one right now. Sorry, guys. I don't know those offhand, but if the designation is not appropriate given its public acquisition and use, then that would be a great opportunity for comments on here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
She has a specific question on what is the link for people to make comments on the Waimea Trail?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the link for people to make comments on the Waimea Trail?
That particular comment, let's see, where did that come from? I believe this comment was entered in, yes, by our mapping consultant, who's also helping sort of watch feedback that's coming in. And so this was actually tagged in the document, page 36. So this was an instance where someone had gone into this page and provided a comment. And so our consultant just put that on the map rather than having it live here, which is a little bit hard to see and read. So here's where the original comment was placed. And again, you can sort of get in here and you can, you know, reply to this, you can like it, you can dislike it, whatever you want to do there, as long as it's appropriate. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. Let's see where we landed here. So we did infrastructure. So the next one is station 4, health and safety. We're almost there. We've got 6 stations, guys. Bear with us. Okay, so health and safety covers our public facilities and services, as well as our health and wellness section. So again, we'll just navigate into the document and we'll see that public facilities and services looks at our protective services, which would be police, fire, civil defense. It looks at solid waste, education, recreation, and then again, our community health and wellness sections are in there. Let's see if there's something in here that's particularly interesting to talk about. Solid waste. I think people in general have all kinds of questions about how are we prioritizing recycling. So again, this summary is really well as far as giving you a glimpse of it, and then you can navigate to those different pages and explore that. There's also, you know, you can agree or disagree with the responses in this session. You can also ask staff if there's a particular thing that you saw that you don't like or you want to know more. You can just ask staff, and this will come directly to our email inboxes. You can have a link to your chat history if it's something you want to share or save for later. And then of course you can reset it to the first question here. What else is in here? Public safety, solid waste, education. Important note about education is that it's really a state function. But in our county, we look at how are we, where are those educational facilities being placed, and making sure that we have safe routes to schools, that we have housing nearby, those type of considerations. So we're not specifically addressing Department of Education issues, but we are looking at land use and infrastructure around our schools and education facilities. That's probably a good look at that. You'll see too that some of our sections have multiple goals. And that's just because we're covering a lot of information in here, and they overlap. Our goals definitely overlap in some cases because they are so high level and overarching. So in this case, we have 2 goals in this section. And then you'll see too, as we sort of look through like how these things are organized, the objective to adequately maintain our facilities, some policies around that, and then actions are really specific to county needs, creating an asset management program, continuing facility inspection. So very specific actions here. So any questions on this station, which is again, health and safety?
Not right now.
Okay. And moving on to economy and housing. That obviously this is a very big section or a station that we tried to put together because in a lot of cases they're intertwined again. So if we just look at our housing goals and objectives, you can see that there's a lot about education and training, small businesses, innovation. This is where we're focusing our food production, is in our economic section. And then, definitely we talk about the visitor industry in this section as well. So again, click into the document and you'll see the same sort of approach with the introduction, economic key trends. This is actually a little bit different. We did in 2016, we had population and economic forecasts analyzed as part of our update. And then once 2020 happened and the new census, we had that information redone. So we have new population and economic forecasts that fed into this current draft. And so these trends you'll see are very current, that they're coming from the 2020 census information. So this table is a little bit different than you've seen in other places because we have that, much more information to share about our economic sort of state of affairs. And then again, getting into the goal, objective, policies, and actions. You can again click on comments. This was a grammar typo comment that obviously we can adjust, which we appreciate those heads up as well. You'll see these in blue. That's just helping us being able to categorize what kind of actions are being prioritized in this plan. And you'll see the definitions for, what is a program. There might be projects. What is a project? Just the various implementation elements in here. And housing. When we organized these stations, we were trying to think about logical organization, but it's not exactly consistent with the way that the document is organized. So just a heads up on that. We are going to housing, which is here, section 5. So for housing, we really took the approach of housing for all in looking at, how can we create those units that are for low, moderate income, and certainly looking at this missing middle, which tends to be the pattern across the United States, frankly, where we're not providing enough duplex townhouse style housing units for our working families. And so really want to focus on how we can create those additional units in those urban spaces where we have commercial activity and infrastructure to serve those. So here, again, there's some really good narrative coming from the 2020 census about, sort of what our population is looking at and what our housing need is. And then you get into sort of those housing challenges and opportunities, and finally our objectives around housing. Question we could ask. How are we addressing I'm just waiting patiently while it searches the document for us.
And as you do that, Bethany, I know Jackie's been waiting. Her question was, how does anomalies such as the emergency housing proclamation get integrated or considered into the general plan process or implementation?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read that. Quick, catch that. Oh, okay, the emergency housing proclamation. So, you know, our administration's been working with the governor's office on that to understand and figure out how we can provide more housing units quickly. And so there are a couple of tools that are already available as far as not needing to go through certain land use designations if you're providing affordable housing. There's different distinctions there. And so I think the general plan overall is in alignment because we're also trying to provide those additional units, but certainly it's not specific into the proclamation and the rules that were set forth by the governor. Those, you know, sort of overwrite everything as far as emergency proclamations go. But we are in alignment with, again, trying to provide those additional units. Sorry, I'm gonna grab a drink of water. So I notice here that this did not answer a question. So let me try it again. Remember, we're trying to break this. There we go. Just needed a little refresh. So a lot of information in here again around sort of affordable housing and what we're trying to accomplish with this plan. And then you can navigate to the pages again to read more information. Any other housing questions?
Not a housing, but I know we went over maybe like infrastructure, health and safety. There's a question about whether county will think outside the box, like composting toilets. That opportunity instead of fecal matter going to Kai, land, etc.
Yeah, definitely we are pushing on innovative approaches. You know, one of the things is this plan is meant to be forward-looking, right? 25, 50 years. And so we know that technology is going to be shifting. So we are encouraging innovative uses. The Department of Health, the State Department of Health, oversees really the individual wastewater systems and how those are regulated. And so we would need to be advocating to them for anything, you know, other than what has been the standard. And maybe we can just ask this question. Let's see. How do I want to navigate this? We'll just do it here. It's easiest. What types of wastewater systems we consider? So Claire, this plan is talking about these systems that we sort of already use. I would say that recycled water systems is maybe an area where we can be a little bit more innovative than we have been. And so I encourage you to sort of go explore that and provide us any feedback you have on that issue.
Yeah, thanks, Bethany.
Mhm.
Then we had probably a health and safety question tied to concern with the emergency signs that were not sounded on September 1st. How can we prevent one person from putting the island and many in danger? Safety concern and preparedness widened to include community volunteer managers be consulted with in any emergency situation for certain areas.
I don't know about that specific issue, and certainly we can work with our civil defense to get you a response back about any sirens that didn't work. Happy to do that. But I just typed in emergency sirens here and I'll show you guys how to, maybe that's not generating. Let's try sirens. So this one's looking at, ensuring that that coverage is adequate for each community. That looks like that's the only place that is in the plan right now. And so if you have suggestions other than what's here, again, you can hit the comment button. You'll notice that since I was already in here, it asks you, oh, is it still you? So you could say not you, and it'll just reset back to the other one. Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay, we are to our last station, which is integrated systems. This is a new section for our plan. The 2005 plan doesn't have this. And we got it from a variety of places, including just some of the feedback we got in 2019. And as our planning director mentioned, we're really trying to understand, excuse me, really trying to understand how to hold county accountable through this effort. And what are the systems changes needed to really address, implementation and prioritize implementation. So that's what this section is really focused on. You'll see that our goal is really about being governed by integrated systems that are efficient, equitable, and organized to facilitate coordination and collaboration. And as you read through these objectives, you'll understand that it's really about, how is the county government functioning and what do we need to do to improve that, set some policies around it, and then are there implementation actions that need to happen? So you can kind of see, just scrolling through here, there's definitely, just about collaboration in general. And then our fiscal responsibilities, equitable outcomes, including, providing technical assistance to underserved communities. So this is, although it's short, it's really powerful because again, we've never had it in our general plan before, and it really speaks to the ways that the county needs to organize in order to focus and be able to implement to achieve our vision. So I would encourage folks to come here and sort of see what's said and see if you have any feedback on that as well. The section I haven't covered is really our implementation chapter, which is very different than the other ones. It's very organized for strategic sort of implementation. So it doesn't have a set of policies and actions, but rather explains the different mechanisms for implementation, how the plans are connected to this, talking about the capital improvement program and the budgets. And then what I really like is the monitoring and evaluation. Again, this doesn't exist in our existing general plan, and we feel it's really important to really understand how effective we're being towards implementation. So you'll see some implementation phases here that we're proposing in this effort, and it really focuses on getting our house in order. And then once that alignment is done, then we can really focus on programs and projects. Okay, I think that's all I had as far as the draft overview. I have a few more slides around sort of next steps. Any questions, Brent, before I sort of close out of this?
Let's see, I think April caught implementation question earlier. Not questions tied to implementation, so I think you can keep going.
Okay. Let's see.
Sorry, I think there's one now, thanks Knuckle, about emergency sirens and disasters. I think Chris was saying a comment that there's a fair number of sirens that do not work around the island, especially along the coast. I was saying you folks are capturing that.
Yeah, so as I
then-
mentioned, we can get specific follow-up with those siren questions with our civil defense agency, just to be sure that, you know, we can get information. And so I think Janice might have dropped a chat into a form for you folks to fill out, where you can provide your email address, and then we can get you a response back for those questions.
And then another concern from the 2005 GP, or the Keokahai area is served by a single main road. However, the unimproved portion remains inadequate to accommodate the existing uses in the area.
Yeah, let's see, maybe let me get out of that and go back into the document for a second. Let's see. The roads map. Yokaha. Refresh. There we go. So there are a number of sort of connectivities basically around the airport. These are coming from a variety of places. This was from the City of Hilo zone map, which has been a really useful tool that only exists in the City of Hilo right now, where they mapped out additional roadways. So that's also from the City of Hilo. Yep, probably these are all, you know, suggestions coming from that zone map to try and address this issue of having this one road that's subject to, you know, sea level rise, wave inundation, tsunami, you know, there's all kinds of things that happen along this roadway. So trying to provide some alternatives in this map here. And then if that doesn't address your question, again, happy to hear any feedback you have around solutions for that roadway.
It's Stephanie.
Okay.
There was a question around allocation. It's super important to talk about how to allocate funding or priorities. For example, voters approved a pump staff position to be paid out of the 2% land fund. When will this position be filled to move the property acquisition forward?
That isn't addressed in the GP, but happy again to follow up with you. If you can fill out that form for us, we can get an answer to you for that question.
Anybody in here? Yeah. Okay.
And then starting to get to like next steps, Claire's asking if we can share, save the chat so that it can be read to. That's where it'll be saved.
Yeah, so great. We are going to get to some of those next steps, which includes getting you folks information as far as the links we provided tonight, presentation material, certainly the recording of this, and then anything else that comes up along the way here. So we need your input, as Zendo mentioned at the beginning. In order to have a plan that really presents our collective vision, we really need the wisdom of everybody and people participating. We've shown you the platform now, but there's other ways that we're trying to get information out and also get information back. So we have several videos that are on our YouTube channel, County of Hawaii Planning Department YouTube. You can watch those. We are doing quite a bit of social media outreach, just trying to get the word out about events and opportunities that are coming forth. So please like us, follow us, share out our stuff on social media. We had 2 in-person informational workshops. One was September 30th in Kona, and one was this last Saturday in Hilo. Both of those were well attended. And we look forward to sort of new opportunities. So this online workshop we're doing again on the 18th of October. We're doing, as I mentioned, road shows and informational booths. And so these are opportunities, again, where community members can invite us in if they have a particular group that they meet with or a community association, and we can come and provide sort of the same presentation and answer questions that members of that audience have. And so we just encourage folks to visit our Konveio platform. Again, I sort of showed you those links where you can sign up for those. And we're trying to accommodate schedules as best we can. But so far we haven't said no to anybody. So that's a good sign. And then the informational booths are really just where we're popping up in at large community events. We'll be at the Revitalize Puna event on October 21st, sharing out information and hearing questions from the community. So those are the upcoming opportunities. Probably this isn't that necessary. If folks really want to, they can attend October 18th, but it's going to be the same information and format as this one. And you can also watch the recording from that as well. And a reminder, our commenting period is through November 2023. And I think that's all I have as far as presentation goes.
So what some of the time you started to touch on is Stephanie was lifting up how you sort of started, how is outreach done in areas that don't have internet? Are there hard copies available for folks who are lacking computer skills? The library hours are limited. County has stations folks can visit and use to navigate this plan. And she goes on to say folks without internet skills and our ability to purchase computers are excluded.
Yeah, this has been something that we're really trying to address. Obviously from the demonstration tonight, you can see that it's a pretty robust platform and it's pretty engaging, but we know that there are members of our community that don't have accessibility to it and or the capacity to really navigate it. So we do have hard copies available in our West Hawaii and Hilo planning departments. We also have staff that can help assist you if you want to learn the system and navigate through Konveio at our offices. And we are going to be providing those hard copies out to all of the public libraries as well, so that folks can go to their local library and read those as well. So those are some of our opportunities. Again, happy to hear any feedback or suggestions folks have for how to reach out to those that don't have very good connectivity.
Thanks, Bethany. Since we have time, Deborah brought up specific issues. The Ali'i Drive in Kona will be flooded by sea level rise. What are the plans for that issue? Kahului Bay has 72 cesspools that pollute the bay every day. What is being done about that?
Yeah, thanks for that question. We do obviously in our climate change section, we address some of the sea level rise adaptation issues. And then I would also encourage folks, we have a integrated climate action plan that is also available on this same Konveio platform, where folks can go and see what is the county's approach to climate change, which includes mitigation and adaptation. And so I think you might find in there specific actions around Ali'i Drive, because that was one of the pieces of infrastructure that was most at risk to, all kinds of inundation, not just sea level rise, but storm surge and flooding and all kinds of things. So I would encourage you to go to our climate action plan for that specifically. And then at the high level, again, our general plan is going to talk about, some of our policies toward climate change adaptation. As far as the cesspools go, I know that the County Department of Environmental Management is actively working on their sewer master plan efforts. And so I can get you in touch with their planning team to find out sort of what their process is and where their areas of focus are for that. But I will need your information. So please fill out the form for me.
Thanks, Bethany. A lot of the GP related questions are you addressed, or the team has addressed. Mako mentioned she's open to, thanks to folks for asking for feedback on the South Hilo portion of the 2005 GP, and she said they're happy to meet with you folks. There's other, no, April addressed a question about smart cities not being in the GP. Yeah, Claire, just making sure that of how it's broken down, but not in the plan.
Yeah, I would encourage you to go and sort of, search the plan and understand it. There seems to be, there's different conversation going on around smart cities. That term is not used in our plan. That's never been the direction. The direction is really about what is called smart growth. And that means having our urban centers in places where we can adequately provide them with infrastructure, and then accommodate higher density. So again, happy to hear more thoughts you have, but it would encourage you to sort of explore the plan and use that search function to sort of ask, your specific questions about that and understand what, what might be in the plan relevant to that.
Thanks, Stephanie. There, currently no other GP related questions. Hopefully folks are also maybe using the time to check out Konveio if anything pops up. As Bethany mentioned, a lot of any issues or questions you folks could use that AI feature, see what comes up.
Cool, maybe we do our closing poll.
Oh yeah, good idea. Should be on your screen how useful was the session, and then how relatable or reflective is the plan of your. We're good. We're down to 23 folks, about 11, 12 responses. Good, up to 14. A range of usefulnesses of the session, or on the useful side, so that's slightly positive. And the range of feedback on relatability of the plan are in the 3 and 4. Appreciate the 23 strong who stuck it out to the end. Thanks for that. Up to 18, I don't see any others adding in. One more minute to 55, and then I'll close it.
Awesome, Brent. Maybe while we're waiting, just can offer my mahalo to folks who attended tonight and helped us to make this interactive. I know it's a little bit hard sometimes when you're, listening to presentations and you have a lot of questions, but I hope that we addressed your questions tonight. If we didn't, please feel free to reach out to us. You can use generalplan@hawaiicounty.gov as our email address. And also, of course, through the platform, there's a variety of ways that you can contact us as well. And then we will be working on sort of compiling the materials for tonight's session and providing those out to you folks Hopefully by the end of the week is our plan, but if not, it'll be beginning of next week. And then I would just encourage everybody to help us share this out. The more input we get, the better. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your kids or your parents. And feel free also to sign up for roadshow presentations or informational booths if you have events coming up, so that we can come to your communities and engage with you folks. Thanks, Brent.
Yep, and I'll end the poll so folks can just see. We had a more weighted on the useful side in terms of the session, more weighted on the somewhat relatable or reflective side for the plan. I appreciate everyone's feedback, and again, sticking, like Stephanie said, sticking it out. Yep, I'll stop recording, and that's it.
All right.